Thank you very much, Greg Lucas. And take a look back at some of the memories, some of the historical memories from this building with some of the people who made history here.
When Major League Baseball awarded a National League franchise to Houston in 1960, plans were already afoot to construct what would be ultimately known as the eighth wonder of the world, the Harris County Dome Stadium, or Astrodome. Bob Aspromonte was one of the players who moved over from Colt Stadium in 1965.
To see the Dome Stadium develop over the period of 3 years and come into a play as the eighth wonder of the world really made us really feel good about opening the season in 1965. You took that field and you see that 55,000 people out there with all the presidents and everybody else, all the dignitaries. And then you had all the Mercury astronauts throwing out the ball, 23 of them versus 23 players on the field. And that's what started the Dome Stadium. It was incredible impact. Everyone felt it. And it's going to be very difficult to see that memory go away.
The astronauts were on hand for the official opening game, which Houston lost to the Phillies 2-0. But the game most remember was an exhibition versus the New York Yankees and Mickey Mantle.
It's interesting to have Mickey Mantle hit the first home run in the Dome. He was my hero growing up. Kid from New York in the same kind of atmosphere, watching him play all the time. Then to see him actually hit the home run in the Dome, and then 2 or 3 weeks later, I was fortunate enough to hit the home run in the first home run as an Astro player. So it was quite thrilling.
And playing in the Dome was not only thrilling, but an adventure. Former Astro outfielder Norm Miller recalls the day after that game with the Yankees.
The one vivid memory I have is the next day when we had our first workout. And there was press corps from all over the world here. Cameras were rolling, and they were wondering, they being the brass, what they were going to do about the problem. And Paul Richards, the general manager, came up to me and put a helmet on my head and said, "Son, go out there and catch some flies." And I still have bruises from that day because I didn't see a darn thing. And now I know why they brought me here. I was a sacrificial lamb. They weren't going to let Jimmy Winter or all those regular guys go out there and get killed. So I was the one that hit fly balls too in this building. And every once in a while I see an old film, and that's me running around getting hit.
The ceiling panels were painted over, causing the grass to die, and thus the invention of what would be called AstroTurf. That's history. But everyone has their own special memories of what they first thought.
The day that I got here, I remember going through the cat hole over here and just looking up going, oh my God. Because, you know, it was kind of sunny out and you could see through the dome. It was amazing. It was such a big place for me. And now it doesn't seem that big anymore, but it was huge, and you know, I was so excited. I was a rookie. I was 23 years old. I was just excited to be here. I was surprised I was still here. I thought they were going to drop me off in Kissimmee or something.
My first memory of the Dome is when I used to go to Colt 45 Stadium, and they were building the Dome, and I'd walk over there and look at that hole in the ground and try to envision what a Dome Stadium was like. And I can remember reading an article about how much hay they would be able to stack in the Dome, and I couldn't envision that. It was pretty overwhelming.
My first memory was we came back from spring training in 1965, and we landed at night and came over here to the Astrodome, and we came into the building and walked out onto the concourse on the field box level, and walked out into the seats, and all the lights were on, and it was just breathtaking. I really thought that I'd walked into the next century, and that's what it felt like. It almost looked like a huge flying saucer or something. And you know, there weren't any buildings with that kind of span back then, and it was just an architectural wonder. And they called it the eighth wonder of the world. Judge Hoffines was never shy about talking about his accomplishments. But at the time, it seemed like the eighth wonder of the world. I mean, it was just magnificent.
Then there were the pennant-winning years of 1980 and 1986. Broadcaster and former catcher Alan Ashby remembers.
I would say that the games that we played here in the playoffs in '80 were as loud as I've ever heard any place, at least up until last year in San Diego. But it was unbelievable, and that Houston Astros thing that started going back and forth, it was unbelievable for a player down on the field. You almost couldn't hear yourself think. And, you know, I don't know how to put into words what that felt like being down on the field, but you just felt like, wow, I love you too, you know, and that was just the feeling that went on down on the field. But I would have to say the 1986 clinching with Mike Scott throwing the no-hitter is an unbelievable memory. And, you know, the way everything ensued that day, we just had a tremendous year going. And then, of course, 1981, when Nolan Ryan throws the no-hitter late in the season to beat the Dodgers, and we were edging them out in the second half. And those were just tremendous memories. Of course, I also was fortunate to be involved in the Ken Forrest no-hitter. So those three are just great, great memories. But I would have to say those, along with the playoff chances, as good as it gets for me.
Guy from Georgia named Glenn Davis took Dwight Gooden deep, and that would end up being all the scoring in that game as Scotty shut out the Mets on that day, and that man Glenn Davis visiting with Greg. Greg?